Thank you so much, Minister. There was a question on Cosmo City, the road that's passing Cosmo City. I think we will take that with the next round. Can I take another set of 3 questions? Your system is... Okay, there's right. Any other hand want us to move to closure? Okay, I'll take those to you. You can go ahead.
SANRAL as well as government to just make sure that the communication infrastructure is present, especially in more remote areas, so that potholes can be noted and people of South Africa can play an active role in the process. Yeah, thank you.
Mrs. Minister, I noted that on one of the screens out there, the number of potholes that are registered for the various provinces. Do you have any estimate of, obviously there's a backlog because of what's happened over time, what is a sort of reasonable number that you would expect to have where you actually not, when you've got rid of the backlog and you're actually now dealing with new potholes that are happening the whole time, so you're not trying to catch up on work that wasn't done in the past, if you get my drift.
Okay. Then we'll take SABC.
Tricia again from the SABC. On the issue of heavy trucks that are constantly on the road, perhaps different before, and the Minister just alluded to that it's putting a lot of pressure on the road, obviously deteriorating the roads quicker than previously. What talks are taking place between the Department of Transport and the other sister departments or entities, perhaps Transnet, to find a way to expedite, because I know there are plans to expedite those plans to utilize rail services as we did in the past, so that we can lessen the pressure of too many trucks on, in particular, the national roads. What talks are taking place? Can we expect some sort of results coming out of that, so that it's not just about the quality of the roads, it's also about the accident rates. I mean, we have seen what trucks are doing on the roads, the number of lives that have been claimed because of, truck drivers, reckless behavior, and everything that comes with it. What is happening in that space? Is there positive results?
Okay. Can I just ask that newsroom, if you can just repeat the question on Cosmos City?
Okay, so basically, we just wanted to find out how far are you with the construction of the road that is near Cosmos City? That was the question.
Okay. Minister?
Thank you very much. On the issue related to trucks on the road, for that matter, we can't even blame them for being on the road, because if the rail sector is not functioning well, then we've got to still move our freight from point A to point B. Even freight that is supposed to be rail friendly is on the road. Coals, for instance, they're supposed not to be on the road. Manganese, for instance, is not supposed to be on the road. Dangerous goods, they're not supposed to be on the road, but they're there on the road. We are engaging our counterparts in the Department of Public Enterprise, including Transnet. And I think that is happening even at the level of the President. To say we've got to modernize the rail infrastructure, but also to ensure that there is accessibility even by the private sector. We are busy as the department with the private sector participation, particularly on rail, which we'll be presenting to Cabinet in the near future. So we already have a CAB memo in that regard. But in Parliament, we also have got a bill called Transport Economic Regulator. It does two important things. One, in terms of the rail policy. The rail policy calls on us to separate rail infrastructure from operators. So what it actually is doing is that in the rail sector, we must have a SANRAL, equivalent of a structure or entity. I'm just making an example. Because SANRAL, for instance, it owns national roads, but it is not the operator. So all of us can operate, and that is why you're going to have trucks that are owned by the private sector. You've got an ambulance that is owned by government. You've got whatever on the road. Now, in the rail infrastructure, the rail policy calls on that. It calls on an equivalent of AXA, for instance, in the aviation sector, where AXA owns the airports in South Africa, international airports in South Africa. But it is not the operator. So you've got all the airlines that have access to airports. And it doesn't matter whether they are owned by the state or owned by the private sector. So the rail policy calls on us to have something like that in the rail sector. And the TER, which is Transport Economic Regulator, it actually is going to create a regulator whose responsibility is to ensure access and cost. So it actually means that anyone may actually go to the regulator and say, I have got a train and I would want to operate it on an X railway line, the infrastructure, which might be owned by the state if you want. Probably the state may decide to commission that to whoever, whatever way that it is done. So that is what we are doing. But one other thing, so and the costing of that, so that the tariffs that we set, even by SANRAL and whoever, they will now be set by the regulator, the tariffs. That is what that bill is doing. But also that bill establishes an appeals process to say if the regulator, if I go to the regulator and say I have got a train, I would want to operate on this line of, railway line, and probably I'm turned down, I can then approach the appeals council to say I've been turned down by the regulator and I am not satisfied with the decision of the regulator. And then the regulator might then decide on whatever the case is. So yes, there is a lot of work that is happening. We would wish really that the issue of freight rail is attended to, not today but yesterday. Because whether we like it or not, we can't keep up. Some of the roads are damaged by traffic. Trucks that when the road was being constructed, nobody foreseen that we're going to suddenly have such numbers of trucks. And there are quite a number of other roads. You know, if you drive in the KZN, for instance, because of sometimes the stoning of trucks around the areas of Pongolo, then trucks will just decide to take any other route. And those roads may necessarily not be meant for trucks. And they drive on those roads, within a week the road is gone. It's not because the quality of road was wrong, but it's because the road was never meant for the trucks. And I just want to make that point important. But having said all this, I just went again to say that South Africa, which is a developing country, has a network, I just want to repeat again, of 750,000 kilometers. And it puts us at number 11 in the world in terms of the length of our roads. Above number 1, it will be your US, 6.8 million kilometers, your China at 6.5, your India at 5 whatever, your Brazils of this world, your Australias of this world. We compare not very well with some of the countries that are in that category. We are one developing country at number 11. In Africa, the next country that follows Africa will be Nigeria at 195,000 kilometer road network, that is their total network. For us, 159,000 kilometers is only the paved roads. And the paved road of South Africa put us at number 18, their length put us at number 18 in the world. We're not doing good, but comparatively speaking, we're not doing bad. Think about the N1 that crosses a desert, non-productive area from Western Cape to Gauteng. You still have to maintain it to the standards of a SANRAL road. And we are doing that despite the fact that you're going to have a non-productive area, which is a desert. And we're doing that. So there are good things, like I've said, in South Africa we have got not just good roads, but very good roads. You can allocate kilometers to that. You have got good roads. We have got fair roads, bad and very bad. And it's a range of that. Then, of course, we have got the gravel roads. Even the most developed, I may not mention, they still have gravel roads. If you actually check, they still have gravel roads. But we would want, if it was according to us, if South Africa was just to say, we're going to only focus on road network this year. So we're going to close down hospitals, schools, and everything, and focus on road network. We'll take the whole budget of South Africa and then, of course, pave all our roads, but we'll still need money for managing and for maintaining those roads. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen like that. The DTG has said that it's 13 billion rand for this financial year, but that 13 billion rand is shared amongst the 9 provinces. And that is why our wish and our request from provinces is that they match whatever that we send to them. Rand for rand, rand for rand, pound for pound. So that if we say 1.4 billion rand, the Northwest province says we also are matching you with 1.4 billion rand, and therefore they can have 2.8 billion rand for that financial year. But sometimes it doesn't happen like that because of the resources that are not equal that provinces will have. But we're moving towards doing something. I just wanted to say that I think on the issue related to Cosmos City, probably they will respond to that. It might necessarily not be our road, and it might probably be a provincial road and maybe even a district road or a metro road. So maybe to give answers on such a specific question might be difficult for us seated here unless we say we can get that information for you. It's possible to do it, and then we can provide it to you if you would want us to do that. There was another question asked. You can share.
I think, Honourable Minister, you're quite correct. On the Cosmo roads, you're quite correct. Cosmo City roads. Those roads, they belong to, Minister has clarified the categories of road network that is in the country from the 750,000 kilometers. Minister was very clear which roads belong to SANRAL, to the provinces, metro roads and so forth, and municipal roads and stuff like that. I think what we are talking about here is like your M1 in Johannesburg. That road belongs to the city of Johannesburg in terms of maintenance, rehabilitation and stuff like that within their own budgets and coffers. So it's another sphere of government that looks after that kind of a road. I think the minister has clarified that very well. The provincial roads, the minister has also clarified that in terms of the 9 provinces and the SANRAL network. So for me, I would say that that kind of a question would be better clarified insofar as the programs and the work schedules of maintaining those roads are concerned. So, but for us, I think that is where we are. We did not get the minister. Maybe if I can add to what you said about the trucks, and I see the question where it's going about the issue of what are we doing about the impasse and this and that. From the SAPC, I think it was more of what are we doing about that. There is an interministerial committee, IMC, on this impasse, which has been established by the President. Ministers are 4 ministers in this. Minister of Department of Labor and Employment, who is leading this IMC. There's Minister of Transport, there's a Minister of Home Affairs, and the Minister of Police. There are 4 ministers that are responsible for this, and they are doing, I think, extremely well, because they engage with these aggrieved employers and employees, your ATDFs and stuff like that. And in fact, they even developed a 11-point plan, which is being rolled out as we speak, in consultation mainly with the Bargaining Council, which is more of the issues of labor. The foreign, drivers and stuff like that. It's more of a labor issue and Home Affairs. And we are very glad that the 2 ministers, Minister of Labor and the Minister of Home Affairs, are working very closely to solve this impasse and make sure that the transparency of the employment of the foreign drivers is coming to a fruition now. So we are very happy that it's going to come to something. And we at the Department of Transport also, under our leadership of Minister Chikunga, we are also having our role that we are playing insofar as the regulation of the registrar number and stuff like that, which is part of the National Road Traffic Act. So I think that is where we are. So I just wanted to make sure that we conclude that one, so that because I can see where the question is going. Thank you very much.
Okay. There was a question around the number of potholes. What is reported through the public app is currently just about 40,000. It is very difficult to estimate how many of those have been fixed. Hence the creation of this ability to have the feedback loop where we can track and trace, we can communicate with the different authorities and provinces. We can use technology to do that, and hopefully that number starts going down. We had not really intensified marketing communications through our different platforms, social media, some of the publications that SANRAL has, radio ads, TV, all of that. The intention will be really to launch an aggressive campaign to get more public downloads of the app, because that's the way through which the public can engage us and the portals wherever they are. I think if stand to be corrected, but the app is a data-free app that you can use without data. There is also, of course, an intention that our engagements with the roads authorities will be intensified through our operators here. So we are expecting that a number of portals might increase slightly initially as we roll marketing campaigns. But of course, we will then start patching those things going forward. Yeah, I think Cosmo City Road is certainly a Johannesburg Roads agency, not ours. Thank you. Okay, disappointingly, I'm told the app is not data-free. I'm sure we'll work on that.
Thanks, CEO. Minister, thanks so much. Colleagues from the media, if I can just check last time. Any other follow-up questions on this? I see newsroom is looking at me. Any? Roy, we can't satisfy you at just one sitting. I know you've got so many questions. But colleagues, that brings us to the end of the Q&A. Minister, there is a special request to just a abridged tour for the members of the media that came a bit late. So if yourself and the chairperson, and of course the CEO and the DDG, if you can just allow them, especially for the cutaways and so forth, an explanation in terms of how the war room works, would appreciate that. Colleagues, thank you so much, and I think we'll allow our protocol team to then take over. We're just doing an abridged version of the tour so that the media can then, even those who are here early, they can still join the minister. Thank you, Minister. Thank you. Protocol. So if you can just, Sivershni, please can you? I think you need to direct this time. And colleagues, as we join the minister on the tour, just housekeeping. There's going to be lunch served at the Protea Hotel. Is it Midrand? Protea Hotel Midrand. So if you can join us, otherwise it's going to be a wasteful expenditure. Lunch is at 12 o'clock.